Joker face.
So ladies and gentlemen, jokers out there, as Elvis used to say, boy, my boy, boy, my boy, boy, my boy. Not only do we have news on Joker 2 and what Folie Deux means, and it turns out that my Bat family senses were tingling the right direction in my video breaking the news the other day of Joker 2, because I was concluding that it's got to be about Harleen and Joker rather than that of Joker or Joker Bruce. But also what kind of film this will be. And that is a musical. So yeah, let's break this down. I would really love to read some well thought out responses in the comments as to why you either hate this or love this, instead of just the typical, nah, fuck this, you know, like, eh. Tell me why you love it or hate it. So, interesting. Interesting. Is this, you know, as I'm looking at it on my screen, what I envisioned in terms of a sequel? I'm gonna pose a few questions like this. So is this what I envisioned in terms of a sequel initially? My answer is no. Is this what I personally wanted for a Joker sequel? And I'm also saying that because obviously I knew that we've been getting one for like a year. And my answer to that would also be no. Then again, you know, even with this latest news, I didn't know how the sequel would go exactly. Would it have continued on at the end of the Arkham State Hospital scene? Or would it have sort of done that, but also told a whole new Joker story just from Arthur's point of view again, just remembering it a different way? No, they're doing a musical, albeit though they could still technically carry it on as of the end scene at Arkham State Hospital. But back to my main line of questioning here. Do I oppose this? And hear me out. No. Not necessarily. I personally am willing to see what this is about, because no matter how much you might hate this, or man, like maybe some of you love it as well, but I've got the vibes that a lot of people like feck this, and we're going to get into that side of it as well. I do see the potential in the chaotic madness of Folie Deux, the shared madness, the madness for two of that of Joker and Harleen Quinzel's fall down the spiral staircase of Joker's mad love. Fitting this somewhat, I guess, a creative vision for a musical, and to me, that's a very intriguing idea. I cannot lie about that. Like, I'm being serious. I'm not going to just call it shit for the sake of subverted expectation. Like, that's very intriguing. And I'm going to repeat myself here again, because I can already imagine some comments from some people, even though everyone has different opinions.
Oh, Barbara, I've lost so much respect for you.
Okay, you know, maybe you should respect me more. No, but really, jokes aside, I'll repeat myself again. It's not perhaps what I would have gone for if I was asked to be creatively involved in this movie, walking out of the first movie, but it's one of those situations, and you guys know me, I kind of like my analogies, where this sequel now, I've heard, okay, Lady Gaga, Harleen, right, okay, we're getting a sequel, and also the information of a musical. It's one of those situations where it's been served on a dinner plate to me now, okay? It's like, it's right there. I look at it, and I've never had this before, you know, really? Like, and I'm squinting at this food being offered to me on this dinner plate when I'm on holiday somewhere. And at first, I'm like, huh? What? WTF? Like, what? You know, like sometimes people do with brand new food that doesn't look exactly maybe appetizing on, you know, the face value of it. But then, guys, as with the analogy, I caught the smell of it. And hold your horses here. I didn't say that it smelled amazing, but I'm thinking, well, shit. Could it be? Call that a lame analogy, but it's one way to try and get you into the beginning part of my mindset when I had this reception to this concept of this movie being a musical. I'm not one of those people who's just like, oh yeah, news, okay, feck this, feck this, like, no. I want to kind of zoom out the box, you know? Call me biased, call me whatever you want, but this is kind of what I want to get into now before we get onto some of the plot breakdown and what I really think can be going on there. The whole part of this mini segment of this video, the discourse, is because I know a lot of knee-jerk reactions from people watching this will be like, huh? What the hell? Like, no, what is this? Now, hear me out here, and by the way, don't worry, we will be getting into my in-depth thoughts about Lady Gaga and her casting after I get my thoughts on this concept out of my system first. So, to sail through this one a little bit, and I think this is important for those of you who are still kind of on the fence. You're like, but I don't know though. Like, I'm not really a musical guy. Like, I didn't expect this for the sequel. You're actually very much so in my boat. Just like everyone else, my expectations were really subverted. I did not expect a musical. But with it, Joker 2, Folie à Deux, of which you have to assume is adapting Mad Love. And when I say that, by the way, I'm not saying it's straight up adapting it, but just, you know, for simplicity's sake, the shared madness side of it, aka basically Mad Love in Todd Phillips's Elseworlds version of these characters. Joker is a very, like you guys know this, a very theatrical character, and so is Harley Quinn. And what more of an interesting point to focus on with this, you know, lens and filter when it's Harleen on the way to Harley. They both can be outlandish, wild, flamboyant, whimsical, absurd, and even as, seriously, I hope this kind of gives some context here, as a non-musical guy, like, I'm just not really that much of a musical guy, don't ask me why, I just don't really vibe with musicals that much. Tell me, like, what is more outlandish, more theatrical, and out there? Harley and Joker. It's such an absurdly wild concept that it might just be really interesting. And I think everyone, again, knee-jerk reactions, perceived notions of, like, musical, think it's gonna be some, like,
I can show you the world. No!
It can still be incredibly dark, but also incredibly clowny, intriguing, so I can see why this was something that was being considered up until the point of now where they're pursuing it. Because again, as of when I first heard this news, I was like, okay, damn, like, you know, I was right about Harleen. I didn't see the word musical at first, believe it or not, when I first tweeted it out. I was like, okay, oh, Harleen, okay, Lady Gaga, okay. But then I saw musical and I was like, taken aback a little bit. But then I thought about it as I've detailed, and I did see the merit in this very, very out-of-the-box idea. I thought, at the end of the day, Todd Phillips and Scott Silver wrote this, and they have a vision. Let's try to understand what they're formulating here. By all means, I don't want to rope everyone in with the same crowd, because most certainly there are people who just see it and like, F this, you know. But at the same time, if you have considered all sides here, and you still absolutely detest the idea of this, fair enough. You try to kind of like get into the idea of the Harleen delve into madness, the kind of whimsical dreamscapey numbers that can be played with the infatuation of her slip and demise into the spiral staircase of madness, and you're still like, no, I don't like it. Fair enough. But going more along that route, I do think that with fandoms, and this is something I would very much so like to hear your take on in the comments down below, and once again, I do want to preface this by saying that I'm not roping people who really don't like the idea of this in this box, albeit I do believe there are a lot of people who even turn out to like the said product, they may still deliver a knee-jerk reaction that is like, no. For example, as soon as I saw this news break on Twitter, I would say 8 out of 10 tweets were completely like, this. And in my opinion here, let me know if you agree with this or disagree with this, or if you're somewhere in between. I tweeted out that subverted expectations will always generate like a WTF to some degree, whether that's a good WTF, a bad one, but subverted expectations on an already controversial, does this even need a sequel movie, I think will always generate a WTF no. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases of fans. Until, that is, people see perhaps what the creative vision is. And I think that could be, for the large part, what's happening here. And ultimately, minds will not be made up on this one for a long while, no matter what, even if the news sinks in, even with some of you today watching this video. Maybe I've talked you around to maybe slightly vibing with it, not entirely until we've seen a bit more from it, obviously, but at least in the conceptual nature, I still don't think minds will be made up for a very long time, just due to how topical this movie is even needing that of a sequel. What's the necessity behind this, as you may have heard before? Do we need a Joker 2? And also the Harleen Quinzel casting. Now, I'm not comparing it to the discourse of that of James Bond or Batman, but most certainly, whether you love Gaga or hate the idea of Gaga being in talks, that is also another factor that impacts this whole presentation and pitch of Joker 2 in the first place, and will thus further offer that conclusion to people's I either love it or I absolutely hate it. I think one thing that's for sure that I think most people can agree upon, even to both ends of the spectrum, it's an extremely bold move. And with something like that of Joker, and a Joker sequel, should I say, I think a bold concept is what was needed, no matter what. And that's, again, coming from a guy who isn't much of a musical guy, as already said. I mean, I went to see The Greatest Showman, by the way, not even realizing it would be a musical. And maybe it's just because I haven't got into them much in the past, but I actually really like that. So I do like musicals, I guess, but I'm just not in my DNA and fabric a musical guy. It's not my comfort kind of movie or whatever. My first thoughts of when I saw what Todd Phillips was going for here, when I started to maybe vibe with the vision a little bit, or at least try to get into his mindset of like, okay, I'm writing this, I'm literally going to pitch this, and we're going to make this. Like, I have to be pretty damn serious about it. Trying to get into that mindset of Todd's, I thought, not gonna lie though, a musical of like crazy mind-f***ing moments and songs in between scenes could play very well, I'm not gonna lie, into kind of a Mad Love-esque thing going on. And one thing to bottom line this, by the way, this could be bad. Like, even though I'm trying to gel with the vision here and offer you both sides, rather than just being kind of like a lot of people and just being like outright no, because it's such a 180 from what some people are expecting out there, or a lot of people, it could be bad. It just could be. It could be bad. But if they pull it off, I do think it has the potential to be really good, especially in the nature of that of the characteristics that build up the Joker and Harleen Quinzel and her evolution into Harley Quinn, and that of the kind of really, I keep saying this, the spiral staircase of mad love, the folie à deux, the shared madness, and them as theatrical and outlandish, bold, insane, absurd characters that they are. I can see that. I just can see that. And I think people who can't see that, even if they hate it, but if you're saying you can't even see it, I think that's just outright kind of like not true. You don't have to like it to see the vision. You can still see the vision and just be like, nah, I'm still not down with that. I would have preferred this. By the way, I'm sure a lot of you noticed, but Joaquin Phoenix, I have absolutely no doubts when it comes to him and singing. He actually played Johnny Cash in one of my favorite roles he's been in, Walk the Line. If you didn't know already, I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan, Elvis as well. I'm into all kinds of music, but regardless, he was fantastic in that movie alongside Reese Witherspoon. Check out Walk the Line if you haven't already. Even if you're not into Johnny Cash, I guarantee it would be hard to not like this movie and the chemistry Reese Witherspoon and Joaquin have. So Arthur, with, as Todd Phillips has always said, always has a bit of music in him. Even though you obviously didn't see him sing in the first movie, they wanted to kind of demonstrate that. For example, the bathroom, the public toilet scene. He has that energy in him, kind of like how the Joker kind of does. Again, putting the seeds a little bit more to this idea of the Joker 2 concept, making a bit of sense there. Which finally, I do apologize for taking so long to get to this point, brings me to Lady Gaga. Now, again, people might be like, Boba, like, man, like, why not Ama Diamas or someone like that? Look, I think Lady Gaga is great. I really do. As for her music, I'm not into kind of the out there, like, it's catchy, but that's not so much my taste. But for sure, she has gone from that stage to release music that I have vibed with. I don't really listen to on the daily, the weekly, the monthly at all. But there has been a time where I was checking out her, I can't remember what album it is, but it was a bit more kind of middle kind of music. That's a terrible way to label something. You might not even understand what I'm saying there, but you get what I'm trying to say. But I think she is a really good actor as well. I really liked her in A Star Is Born. You might just not like Lady Gaga. I don't know what your reasons are, but she's good. She's really good. And by the way, her voice, whether you like or dislike her music, some people just, again, get stuck on like, oh my god, Lady Gaga, when she was like 21, 22, really outlandish kind of, you know, it was her artistic kind of take at the time, and it's like, oh, she's always like this, you know, the kind of very abstract-y kind of artist. And at the end of the day, that's your prerogative, but she has a brilliant voice. She just has pipes for days. Her stuff with Tony Bennett as well. She is great. She is great. And enough about the music now, because she's way more than capable of performing in this movie, voice-wise, and also maybe even writing some of the songs that will go along for Joker and Harleen / Harley Quinn. But what do I think about her as Harley Quinn? Now, one thing I want to say is that I said in my video the other day when breaking down the news of this that Margot Robbie, like, do not look to the DCEU version. Todd Phillips, I'm not saying he's going to go uncharacteristic to Harley, it's just going to be a different casting. Like Joaquin Phoenix as Joker in Joker, we're going to have Harleen as a psychiatrist in Arkham State Hospital. And then eventually, who knows, get to Harley by the end of it as adapting the Folie à Deux story. But I'm not gonna lie, you may not like this casting, everyone has different opinions, but I like it. I really do. I can really see Lady Gaga as Harleen. I can definitely see her in a professional demeanor, going to visit Arthur, and then along the way, slowly, he's gonna make dents into the psyche that is Harleen's mind. I can easily, I say this with the utmost confidence, seriously, imagine Lady Gaga as Harleen Quinzel. Like, you may be like, Boba, like, what the hell, I couldn't disagree with you more. Fair enough, like, fair enough. I mean, Jesus, people debate so much about Joker, like, and Robert Pattinson as Batman. I've been here before defending said casting choices, but if you have any modicum of confidence in my opinions, take it from me. If this goes through, even if you disagree with the musical thing, you will probably end up digging her Harleen. I can't guarantee it, obviously, but that's how confident I am. Bottom line, I can easily imagine the kind of glasses, like, okay, I take my job seriously. I have absolutely no intention of obviously falling in love with this inmate version of Harleen, but also, I mean, Lady Gaga, come on. And also, if you've seen some of her other roles, I can also see this batshit maniacal laughter version of herself when push comes to shove. Now, by the way, I'm not saying she's going to go from Harleen to batshit maniacal laughter at the end of the film, but what I'm saying is, let's just assume by the end of the film, like 3/4 of the way through now, where she lets some laughs out, she's getting charmed by Joker, or by the end, she really does feel Stockholm Syndrome D by him. Who knows how Phillips and Scott Silver have really approached the writing of the narrative of the movie here with what they're doing. But Lady Gaga, I do think looks like Harley and can easily look like her even more, especially with the right costume on, the blonde hair. She might not be the look of Harley that you want, but you can't deny, like, you can compare her to Harleen Quinzel. Hopefully, I kind of vibe something there with you, but if not, you're just gonna have to see it for yourself. And now that gets me to just the movie in general, the plot, the vibe, and look, once you've gotten over the shock factor of, oh my god, Joker 2 is a musical, let's just swallow that pill now. And let's just entertain the idea of, like, hey, whether you like musicals, whether you hate them, or whether you can kind of vibe with them sometimes, let's just at least try and go in that we can vibe with them sometimes and look at a Joker and Harley Quinn one, because that's happening now. And, you know, I do think this can be, like, the most grittiest, shocky, kind of darkest musical we've ever kind of had, with that of the mind of Todd Phillips, with what he achieved with the first movie. Whether you love or hate it, it still was very popular. So with this one, and the story is exploring, can you imagine, like, this is why I am getting more and more into it the more I'm absorbed into it, possibly the darkest, the most grittiest, twisted, because just because this is a musical, again, it's not the I can show you the world, it's not gonna, like, there might be piss take version songs of that from a moment with Harleen, but we are going to get just as chaotically dark as the first movie did, entwined with whatever the hell they're forging with this one. I don't want you to think that's going to disappear, because I have the utmost faith that this will get in some really weird stuff. Really weird stuff. Possibly kind of unprecedented, because you're going to try and clone the dark nature of Joker, but then see all the really twisted ways they can get into that with that of a musical in the second one. Second of all, is that a musical isn't every second and every moment a song. Like, there will be dialogue, there will be scenes in between actual musical numbers. That's one thing, again, I'm not trying to, like, child explain you, but I think people forget that. You're still gonna have scenes. Like, and for all we know, they're calling this a musical, but that doesn't mean that it's a full-blown musical. There's got to be songs in it, of course, but there might actually be way more scenes. I'm not going to say like A Star Is Born or Walk the Line where you had songs in it. It's more of a soundtracky drama one. But I do think this would be comprised of quite a bit of drama scenes, of course. And then you get into like the delusion state of Harleen maybe singing a song. And that brings me to one of the other most interesting takes I think I've come up with here, is that the first film was from Arthur's point of view. What if, and his, take, his perspective, what if this second movie, and what aids, the kind of psychological madness that Harleen dives down into, the perspective is entirely from her. That would be interesting. What if she likes musicals, and as she's falling in love with him, getting charmed by him, fascinated by his mind, completely infatuated, at a certain point, right, she starts maybe having musical daydreams. I don't know. Could be a shit idea for all you think off the top of... This is like off the cuff, right? So you see what I'm trying to say there. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, some of you might be like, sure, Bobby, it's easy for you to say this now since you may be kind of vibing with the musical direction of it. But this is one thing that I've struggled with in previous videos when talking about Joker sequel, way before we even knew it was a musical. And that is with regards to another Joker movie, the plot. With regards to it just being another film like the first. The more I speculated about that, the more I was having difficulty with coming up with ideas. Because sure, we've spoken about another story. We even did that very recently, Joker and his origin, Arthur Fleck just perhaps remembering it another way. But then I kind of concluded some audience members, even though we'd like to see that, it's another opportunity to explore a different type of Joker, because there are other types of Jokers out there. It does kind of feel like, okay, but you did that in the first film. Yes, there's opportunity to tell a different type of joke with a way that Arthur's just remembering it differently, living up to the multiple choice origin. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that's redundant, but it is kind of like rehashing this first movie. Does it justify it enough to just tell a different multiple choice version? Even though I think a lot of us would still be like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'd still pay a few dollars to see that. And maybe this time you would have just had him recounting a different version again, just with Harleen interviewing him. But I do admit, that would be fairly samey, which is why I say that Joker 2, with this bold sweep, is becoming less and less surprising with the vision they now have with that of a musical. And not necessarily making it as identical as the first movie in terms of, like let's just tell a whole unreliable narrator story. We know that this second version Arthur is telling to this new psychologist who is not going to kill Harleen will be just as unreliable as the first movie, because since the first movie with Arthur Fleck and what we saw all the way up until the Murray Franklin show was unreliable, this is just going to be just as unreliable. So again, samey. That's why they're giving us a whole different thing here. Like, what if all of it is in the real world? What if all of it is in that Arkham State Hospital scene? But that's where they play the mad love part, and that's all that story that's going to unfold with the musical part of it. And again, I need to stress this. There's going to be scenes of, like, talking and other bits. And I think that's why, by the way, I've come a little bit more down to earth with this idea. Again, I might not even love it, but I get why they thought that this would be the direction to go, despite, no matter what, as I got into earlier on in the video, the reception of it with fans, I think, especially with this announcement, would always be like, what? One thing I do want to say is innovative is a musical with those same characters, and Folie à Deux, it does definitely play into the Joker's and Harleen's theatrical madness of those characters. Bottom line, guys, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. And by the way, I think the more we get close to it, the more maybe opinions will change. I'm not saying yours will. I'm not saying it should. I'm not saying everyone's will. But I wouldn't be surprised if the more stuff that comes out about this, the more... And by the way, once the movie's out, I wouldn't be surprised if people are like, that's kind of sick, you know? I'm just saying, and I'll hold my hands up, by the way, never embarrassed to admit this, if I'm wrong, and it was terrible. I'll clip this and show it in my review in 1.5 to 2 years' time. So there we have it, guys. I can imagine the plot, as I've already kind of been detailing, going in a way that is possibly from Harleen's perspective. I don't think it's going to be like a cliche traditionalist kind of musical. I think it will mimic all of the darkest natures and, you know, depictions and just mood and tone and just grittiness of the first movie to make it that of a very intriguing mad love story, a shared madness, getting into maybe some very shocking ways of like the things that obviously really aren't okay about Joker and Harleen Quinzel. That I don't think Todd Phillips and Scott Silver are going to shy away from that, just like how they didn't shy away from things in the first movie. I think people are just getting really stuck and stigmatized on the musical word. I understand why, by the way, but I just think that's maybe putting a bit of a smokescreen over the potential this movie still has to tap into a lot of the really wild, dark aspects that you still loved about the first movie. It's just got to take some more selling, I think, for the audience to be into it, especially when the first movie wasn't a musical, basically. But let me know what you think, right? Yeah, I think this is going to be a controversial as hell comment section. I would love to know your thoughts on my thoughts, first of all. Love to know if you feel like I've maybe swayed your mind a little bit. There's different answers to that. You may say that I have, but still, like, thinking I still don't want it to be a musical, but maybe you've raised some points where I can see the potential in that, because that's where I'm at, right? Like, I can see the potential in this, but bottom line, I'm not saying that's what I would have preferred. I'm not saying that that's even what I wanted, like as I said at the beginning of this video, but I completely understand why they went down this road, wanted to walk down this road. But also let me know why you hate it, for those who do, why you think this won't work, why you think that it's just absolutely a terrible idea. There's a lot of discourse to be had here. Like the video if you did enjoy this, guys. I know it's been a long-ass ramble today. I had a lot to say. Do subscribe for more Joker 2 updates because we're going to stay on top of it. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and it's going to be quite the journey to Joker 2. So I'm looking forward to this one, see where it goes. But I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.